Hello everyone, welcome back to ZypherSpaceCore. In the previous episode, we studied statistical randomness through frequency test, run test, poker test, and how randomness is mathematically analyzed. But today we move into something much deeper because in cryptography, looking random is not enough. A sequence may pass every statistical test perfectly but still be incompletely insecure. This is the core idea of today's episode. Statistical tests take only whether output looks random. For example, frequency test checks whether zeros and ones are balanced. Run test checks whether patterns appear naturally. Serial test checks pair distribution. Poker test checks repeating structure. This test analyzes the statistical behavior but noticing something critically important. None of the text asks, can the attacker predict the next output? And that is actually a cryptographic question. Let's now understand this using one of the most famous weak generator, that is linear congruential generator LCG. The formula of LCG is xi plus 1 equals to a multiplied by xi plus c modium. Xi is the current state, a is the multiplier, c is the increment, m is the modulus. The generator takes the current value, multiply it, add a constant, then perform modular operation. The result comes the next output. Then process repeat again and again. At first glance, the output look random. For example, 47, 193, 84, 251, 19, etc. This look unpredictable to an human eye. LCG can even pass many statistical tests random. This is why early computer systems widely used it, but cryptographically LCG is disastrous because the generator is fully deterministic, which means if an attacker discovers enough output, they can mathematically recover the multiplier, increment, the modulus, and internal state. Once the internal state is recovered, future output become completely predictable. Not only the future output, sometimes even previous output can be reconstructed. So, despite looking random, there is actually hidden mathematical structure underneath. An attacker exploit that structure. This one of the most biggest lesson of the cryptography. Random looking output does not imply security. A generator can pass nest test, pass frequency analysis, pass statistical validation, yet still totally predictable. And cryptography care about unpredictability, not appearance. This is exactly why cryptographically secure generators were developed. Now we arrive at solutions, that is cryptographically secure pseudo-random bit generator CSPRNGs. CSPRNGs is not just random generator. This is the generator with mathematically secure guarantees. Its outputs are designed so that attacks cannot predict them efficiently. Now let us understand the formula, like formal definition, that ACSPRNG is represented as G binary string of length S mapped to binary string of length L. S is the seed length, L is the output length. Most importantly, L is much larger than S. That means a small string secret seed generate a very large pseudo-random stream. For example, 256 random bit may generate megabits or gigabits of secure output. This property is called expansion. Now, one very important thing student misunderstood, that is CSPRNG are actually deterministic, means the same seed always produce same output. The question becomes, if deterministic, how it can be secure? The answer is security comes from computational hardness. Even if the attacker knows the algorithm, the mathematical design, implementation details, they still should not recover seed or predict future bit. This follows Kirchhoff's principle. The security must depend only on secret seed, not secret algorithm. Now let us look at the flow diagram. First, the seed system collects the entropy. Entropy means the unpredictable physical randomness like mouse movement, keyboard timing, thermal noise, network disrupt. This entropy becomes secret seed. That seed enters CSPRG and PRNG algorithm. Then the generator expands small randomness into massive pseudo-random stream. This output is used for section keys, HTTP, IVs, nouns, digital signatures, etc. Basically, the modern internet security depends upon this single concept. Without secure randomness, all cryptography collapses. Now we study five fundamental properties that means PRBG, cryptographically secure. First one is expansion. A small secret seed must generate a very large amount of pseudo-random output because true randomness from physical world is expensive and slow. Imagine generating a physical entropy continuously for every encrypted packet on internet. That would be impractical. So instead, we collect a small, high quality randomness once, then expand it efficiently. That is what CSPRNG does. A tiny secure seed become huge secure output stream. Next bit unpredictability. This is the heart of cryptographic security. Even if the attacker knows millions of previous bits, they still should not predict the next bit better than random guessing. Notice how powerful the requirement is. Suppose the attacker has supercomputer, AI model, ML, advanced statistic. Still, the prediction probability should remain especially 50%. That means the future output remain unpredictable. Third property is output indistinguishability. The output must look identical to true randomness. No efficient algorithm should determine whether bit came from physical randomness or CSPRNG. This concept is extremely important in theoretical cryptography because the most theoretical proof, like cryptographic proof, are based on this distinguishability game. Fourth one is polynomial-time security. In cryptography, we assume attackers are computationally bounded. That is, they cannot perform infinite computation. So the generator must resist all practical efficient attack. If attack requires exponential time, we consider secure system in practice. Fifth one is state compromise resistant. This property protects the generator even if some internal state leaks. Suppose the attacker partially compromised the memory, the generator should still protect the past output, future output, and remaining internal state. Modern generator continuously reset and update the state, especially for this reason. Now we study the most fundamental property in depth, that is next bit unpredictability. This property defines whether generated is truly cryptographically secure. No probabilistical polynomial time algorithm should predict next bit with probability significance better than one half plus negligible advantage. Now let us simply this intuitively. Suppose an attacker observe 10 million output bit. They know algorithm, source code, hardware architecture, everything except the secret seed. Now the attacker tried to predict a bit number like 10001001, like a secure generator guarantees attacker perform no better than a coin flip. That is extraordinary. Even after an observing huge output, the future remain hidden. Now think carefully. An ordinary randomness test do not provide this guarantee. Only mathematical unpredictability does. That's why cryptographic security is fundamentally different from statistical randomness. And if a generator fail next bit unpredictability, the generator is considered as broken immediately. But if the next bit can be predicted, the future cryptographic secret can also be predicted. Now let's move to another important concept, output distinguishability. This ideas form the backbone of modern cryptographic security proof. The simple principle that a secure CSPRNG output should look exactly like true randomness. not approximately random, not visibly random, but computationally indistinguishable from true random data. Now let us understand what that actually means. Suppose an attacker receives 1 million bits. Their challenge is to determine whether this bit came from physical true random source or CSPRNG. If generator is secure, the attacker should fail. This success probability should remain almost equal to a random guessing. This leads to what the cryptographers call the indistinguishability game. Here is how the game works. Attacker choose desired bit length, then the challenger secretly flip a coin. If a coin is head, the attacker like challenger give CSPRNG output. If the coin is tail, the challenger gives truly random bit. Now the attacker analyze the sequence and try guessing the source. If attacker consistently guessing correctly better than the random chance, the generator is considered broken. Now this concept is deeper than its first appearance. The attacker may use statistical analysis, machine learning, time analysis, pattern detection, AI model, differential cryptanalysis, hardware analysis, yet none of this above help. This is the meaning of computationally distinguishable. To a very efficient attacker, the sequence should appear truly random. Now look at the slide carefully. The only theoretical way to distinguish output would be recovering the secret seed or the internal state, and the secure CSPRNGs are especially designed so that this become computationally infeasible. This idea is extremely important because the modern cryptography is built around indistinguishability, like encryption security, semantic security, zero knowledge system, authentication, all relies on indistinguishability concept. Now we arrive at the one of the most powerful result in theoretical cryptography. This theorem, like Yahoo's theorem, this theorem completely changed how the cryptography think about randomness. In 1982, Andrew Yahoo proved one of the most important theorem in modern cryptography. The theorem states a generator passes the next bit test if and only if the output is distinguishable from true randomness. This is the incredibly deep result because initially these two properties appear completely different. The next bit unpredictability talk about the predicting future bit. Indistinguishability talk about telling pseudo randomness part of apart from the true randomness. At first, they seem unrelated, but Yahoo proved that they are mathematically equivalent. Now, let's understand why this theorem is revolutionary. Imagine the cryptographer before the Yahoo's theorem. How would they verify the generator security? They would need frequency test, run test, serial test, autocorrections test, entropy test, spectral test, and many more possible statistical tests. They would be impossible because there are infinitely many statistical property random sequence may satisfy. But Yahoo theorem simplified everything. He proved if an attacker cannot predict next bit, the generator automatically plus all polynomial-time statistical tests. This means one property implies all other. That's why next bit predictability is considered the core security criteria. The cryptographer no longer needed his sourcing test alone. Instead, they rely on the mathematical proof of unpredictability. So, this theorem forms the bridge between the practical test and theoretical test, and this is the one reason modern cryptography become mathematically rigorous. But even after understanding Yahoo's theorem, the many people make one dangerous mistake. They continue believing statistical tests only guarantee security. The statistical check appearance, not predictability, and the cryptography cares about the predictability. Now let's revisit carefully. Like frequency tests are zeros and ones balance. Run tests ask do pattern appears naturally. Serial tests are pairs distribute uniformly. A weak generator may pass all the tests perfectly but still remain mathematically predictable. Let us study Marconi tester. This generator is extremely famous. It is widely used in scientific simulations. Monte Carlo analysis, graphics, gaming engines, numerical computation, and statistically it performs very extremely well. This passes most randomness tests. So many people assume it must be secure, but cryptography is completely insecure. Why? Because after observing 624 output, the attacker can reconstruct the entire internal state. Once the state is recovered, every output becomes predictable, completely deterministic. So, despite intellectual statistic quality, there is zero cryptographic security. Now, compare this with the CSPRNGs. If CSPRNGs observes output should not reveal the internal state. This is the difference between statistical randomness and cryptographic randomness. Now let's revisit the LCGs again. LCGs are even weaker. Often just one or two outputs are enough to recover generator parameter mathematically. And once the parameters are known, the future output becomes trivial to predict. So this slide teaches one critical lesson. Passing the test does not prove security. The security requires mathematical unpredictability. And now we study one of the famous real world examples proving this lesson, like dual EC DRBG backdoor. This is one of the biggest scandal of cryptographic history. Dual EC DRBG was a pseudo-random generator recommended by NSA. Later it became standardized by NIST. This means governments, companies, security products, and cryptographic libraries trusted it worldwide. Now noticing something shocking. Dual EC passed frequency test, run test, pocket test, statistical security review. Everything appears securely, but the hidden inside the algorithm was mathematical backdoor. The vulnerability was based on the elliptical curve parameter, especially the standard defined a curve, a point q related to another p through a secret value d. Mathematically, q equal to d multiplied by p. Now, if an attacker secretly knows d, they can predict the generator output. And the researcher may recover. The NSA likely knew this hidden relationship, meaning they could potentially predict the output of the system using dual EC DRBG. A generator looked random, passed all the tests, become officially standard, yet secretly compromised. This event changed modern cryptography permanently because it proved beyond a doubt. Statistical tests alone is insufficient. Only transparent mathematical security proof can be trusted. This is why the modern cryptographers strongly prefer open analysis, peer review, provable construction, and publicly verify parameter. The dual EC instance is one of the greatest lessons in security engineering. Now, after studying the weak generator and real-world failure, let us look actual secure CSPRNGs used in modern system. These are the generators trusted by the operating system, TLS protocol, cryptographic library, internet infrastructure worldwide. The modern CSPRNG is not based on the simple arithmetic formula like LCGs. Instead, they are built on using strong cryptographic primitives such as hash function, block cipher, stream cipher, entropy pools. Their security depends on hard mathematical assumption. The first one, Hash-DRBG. This generator is standardized by NIST. It uses cryptographic hash functions such as SHA-256, SHA-512. Now remember an important property of cryptographic hash function. They are one-way function, meaning given output, recovering input is computationally infeasible. Hash-DRBG repeatedly hashing the internal state along with the counter and entropy updates because the secure hash function behave almost like a random function. The output become cryptographically strong. One major advantage of Hash-DRBG is simplicity. It's designed as elegant, efficient, and easier to analyze mathematically. Next is AES-CTR DRBG. This generator uses AES block ciphers in counter mode. Now let's understand the idea intuitively. AES is already considered computationally secure encryption. CTR mode converts AES into stream generator. A generator encrypts continuously increasing counters, AES of counter 1, AES of counter 2, AES of counter 3, and so on. Each encryption counter block becomes pseudo-random output. Now, why is this secure? Because of AES behave like random permutation, its output also appear random. Since AES is hardware accelerated on many processors, AES-CTR DRBG become extremely fast in real-world system. Next is StarChart 20. This is the modern street cipher designed by Daniel Bernstein. It is widely used in TLS 1.3, Linux kernel, WireGuard VPN, modern browsers, mobile systems, etc. Now, ChaCha20 become very popular because it is extremely fast, software efficient, secure even without AES hardware acceleration. Unlike old generator, ChaCha20 is designed especially for the modern high-performance system. It uses repeated mixing operations called quarter round to diffuse entropy across internal state. And due to its strong security and efficiency, many modern systems prefer ChaCha20 over old construction. Now let's us discuss the Fortuna. Fortuna was designed especially for the practical operating system. One major challenge in real system is entropy collection. Entropy source may sometimes become weak or temporarily unavailable. Fortuna solved this using multiple entropy pool. Different randomness source continuously feed different pool. Example keyboard timing, network interrupt, disk access timing, GPU jitter. Fortuna periodically refeeds itself using this entropy pulse. This gives very strong resilience against entropy failure. Another important feature is forward secrecy. Even if the current state is compromised, the past output remain protected. This is extremely important in long running system. And finally, we have Linux Shah Dev Shah slash unrandom. Many like Linux does not simply output hardware noise directly. Instead, the kernel collects entropy from multiple physical events like mouse event, disk timing interrupt, CPU time variation, network behavior, and then this entropy is mixed and expanded using secure CSPRNG mechanism. This produces efficient, continuous, cryptographically secure randomness for the application. Now we understand real CSPRNGs. Let's examine why it's absolutely essential in the modern security system. Like CSPRNG are not optional component in cryptography. They are the foundational infrastructure. Almost every secure system on the internet depends upon the secure randomness, like key generation. Suppose your browser opened HTTPS connection to Google during TLS handshake. The system generate AES section key, empirical secret, Diffie-Hellman parameter. This value must be predictable, like unpredictable. If randomness is weak, the attacker may guess keys. Once the keys are predictable, encryptions completely collapse. This is why secure key generation absolutely required CSPRNG, PNRNGs. Next is nouns. Nouns means the number used once. Authentic protocol rely heavily on the nouns to prevent replay attack. Imagine the attacker record all authentication message. If the nouns repeatedly attackers may replay same message later. Some nouns uniqueness and unpredictability are critical. So the CNPRNGs ensure fresh, secure nouns continuously. Now, initial vectors like initialization vectors, IVs, modern like modes like CBC encryption requires random IVs. Why? Because encryption, same plain text wise, should produce different ciphertext. Otherwise, the attacker can detect repeated message and pattern. If IV repeat, the security weakens dramatically. CSPRNGs prevent this by generating unpredictable IVs. Next is web section tokens. When you log into website, the server generate random section token. This token identify your authenticator section. Now imagine weak randomness. The attacker may predict the next token. Then attacker can hijack another user section. This is why the section token must come from cryptographically secure randomness. Now, one of the most dangerous areas, digital signature. Algorithms like ECDSA, DSA, RSA, PSS all depends heavily on randomness. In ECDSA, especially the weak randomness can leak private key completely. In fact, the multiple real-world cryptocurrency wallet theft occurred due to weak nonce generation. This shows the randomness failure can directly lead to catastrophic security breaches. So, after studying the theory, the real system, and real world failure, let us summarize the most important lesson of this episode. Like in this episode, like we moved from statistical randomness to the true cryptographic security. We learned that passing statistical does not guarantee the unpredictability. A generator may look random, pass NIST test, satisfy statistical property, yet it will be mathematically predictable. This is why cryptography requires strong guarantee, like five core properties of CNV, that like expansion, unexpected predictability, indistinguishability, polynomial-time security, state compromises. Among this unpredictability, like next bit unpredictability forms the theoretical foundation. And finally, we understood why SNDRG are the foundation to the cryptography. Without the secure randomness, key fails, TLS fails, authentication fails, signature fails, encryption fails, and in cryptography, everything begins with the randomness. And if the randomness is weak, everything built on the top of it become vulnerable. Thank you.